I came this close to referencing, like almost trying to do an entire thing of rebuttals with using The Simpsons. I came this close.
Welcome back to Poutine Politics, Canadian issues served with cheese curds. My name's Adam.
My name's Mike. And this week, I decided that we would talk about climate change, and I want to bust myths about climate change.
Climate change denial. Dun, dun, dun.
So there's many people that have climate change denial theories and things like that. And essentially, if you take the time to do any research on this with like 5 seconds worth of effort, you'll realize quickly that these people that are denialists or people that promote denialism are either lying or purposely misleading.
Apparently.
Or just have no idea.
Yeah, and apparently they like to share the same like 5 or 10 disreputable sources and quote unquote studies, and say that that's the proof that there's no problem. There's no climate emergency or anything like that.
Yeah, it's all the same rhetoric, and I have no intentions of using scientific fact or anything like that to prove it. I'm going to use sarcastic rebuttals because the people that usually say this aren't interested and the science of it, because if they did, they would just go look it up themselves.
Well, right. Yes, exactly.
So if you're promoting this, you obviously don't care to look up yourself, and you just want to promote whatever's on your particular blog, which is why I will fully admit that these rebuttals aren't the best rebuttals from a science standpoint, but they're damn funny. Okay.
All right, here we go.
Okay, so I'll ask Adam this question. What are some of the common myths around climate change that deniers like to put out?
Climate's always changing.
Okay, wait. I got a rebuttal.
Okay.
Because everything's got a rebuttal.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So climate's always changing.
Yes. And the Earth was once a snowball. That doesn't mean that it's not changing. It's the rate that it's changing at that's the problem.
I don't think the Earth was ever a snowball anyways.
Yeah, it was. Completely covered in ice.
When?
2 billion years ago. Look it up.
All right. I know obviously that, yes, there's been ice ages and things like that, but I never thought that it was like almost 100% essentially.
Yeah, it was completely except for volcanoes. The volcanoes were how it got out of it.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Damn volcanoes causing climate change.
Yeah.
That's my next one. That should be my next one.
What? Volcanoes?
Because I saw a meme online, and I've seen it numerous times, and it's like a picture of a volcano erupting, and that the caption that goes with it is, "Look at this volcano! It's spewing more CO2 than humanity ever has in its entire existence."
In this case, I'll put a footnote in it because we're saying that humans are not the cause, and that's something I'm going to go back to because it's generalization.
Sure. Okay, no problem.
Any other specifics we'll say?
The climate can't be changing because it's cold where I am. And it's not supposed to be cold yet.
That's one of my favorite things to say in general, is to say, where's this climate change when I need it?
Yes. Well, like Trump's tweets where it's like, we could really use some of that global warming right about now.
Yeah,
it's February and there's a snowstorm in New York.
You don't go outside and say, how's the climate today?
Yes, that's very true.
And the reason for that is because climate is long-term and weather is short-term.
Well, not only that, but weather is also localized and climate is like larger region.
Yes.
You know, up to and including the entire planet.
Yeah. Anything else?
What's another good one?
I'm putting him on the spot.
What is it? Well, I know there's one that's Canada specific, which I know is not true, but I'll say it anyways, is the fact that Canada is a carbon sink because of all of our forests and things like that.
Canada, trees are a carbon sink.
Essentially, well, that Canada as a whole is a carbon sink because of so much of our country is covered by forest.
Yeah, too bad all the forests are burning down.
Yes, exactly, and not being replaced.
Yeah. All the forests are burning down, not being replaced. So, no.
No.
Okay, so some of the other ones, because I'm leaving Adam out hanging to dry. One of the favorite ones is the sun is getting hotter.
Yeah, sunspot activity, right?
Not sunspot, just the sun.
Just the sun. Just the sun's
not getting hot. It's the sun's fault.
Yes, okay.
But we'll just ignore the fact that Mars is actually getting colder.
Well, maybe because Mars is further away. I don't know. Whatever the argument would be there.
Yeah.
Of course it's going to get colder.
I like the argument. Not all the scientists agree. There's some debate out there.
Which is true.
Yeah,
but
97% of the people agree.
Yes.
So I will make a bet with you for $1,000. You get a 3% chance of being right. I have a 97% chance of being right. Let's do this. Any day of the week. Any day of the week.
right.
I'm up for it.
Yeah.
Some people say that old models and predictions were unreliable.
Yeah. Actually, again, to go back to the volcano thing, one of the things I've heard was that, of course, the CO2 readings are going to be elevated when the observatory that they're taking them from is on a volcano in Hawaii.
Yeah, because the only thing that they use is the volcano in Hawaii. That's the only spot.
That's it.
Only spot
It's
in
the
the
only
world
spot.
that they use to figure out global climate change.
That's right.
They use
to
that
figure
one
out the
spot.
CO2 levels.
But the old models is always like, oh yeah, so it's because of old stuff. Because you know what we discovered? We patented in the 1950s, pen and paper, and then in the 1960s we discovered mercury.
All
So
right.
that way we record all the temperatures.
I'm just trying. I'm like, okay, mercury, thermometers.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Another great one is, and this is one that you can almost insert any time. It hasn't been warmer. If you look from 1998 till this time, it hasn't been warmer.
Except it has.
You know.
I mean, the information's there.
Well, no, they're saying because of there's a really high in 1998, and they pick 2012 in
Yes.
December as a low.
Right.
But don't worry, you're not cherry picking or anything.
No.
I also heard that Disco Stew says that from 1976 to 1979, disco sales are up. So invest in disco.
That's right. Disco Stew doesn't advertise.
Disco Stew doesn't advertise. The Antarctic ice sheet is growing. It's just the one sheet's growing.
Yes.
In the coldest place on the earth.
Yes.
But that's the land ice, not the sea ice. So
Yes.
just ignore that large New York State size iceberg that just fell off. Just
Yes.
ignore that. That doesn't
exactly.
count.
That doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
Doesn't count. The Larsen ice shelf doesn't count.
Or Greenland. We're going to ignore Greenland altogether.
That's
because
right.
That doesn't matter.
That's right.
Or the rest of the Antarctic. We'll just ignore it.
Glaciers. The glaciers mean nothing.
Ice Age was predicted in the 1970s. Did you hear that one?
I've heard that one a lot. That is so old that it's not like I've looked back to find actual news sources or National Geographic articles or anything like that to see if that was actually the case.
So who promoted it was Time Magazine.
Okay.
Okay. And all I have to say is go back and figure out who Time Magazine Man of the Year was in 1938. I'm done.
I mean, maybe they were under new ownership by the 1970s.
Do you know who it was? 38.
I know it was Hitler. I know Hitler was considered Time Man of the Year in 1938. That's very true.
I'm done.
I mean, mind you, I'm pretty sure Time did have Barack Obama as a Man of the Year at some point during his presidency. But I get what you're saying, or Person of the Year. They call it Person of the Year
right,
now.
exactly. They're not perfect.
No, they're not perfect. That's true.
Let's not hold them as the standard by which science is delivered on.
Yes, fair enough.
Okay. So the generalizations is that most denials go through 5 stages of denial. They go, climate isn't changing.
Yeah.
Put a little footnote on that because I'm going to come back to that a little bit more and how it actually impacts Canada. Humans are not the cause.
Yes.
CO2 is not growing. CO2 is actually good for us.
Because it's plant food.
And humans will just adjust to it. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
The 3 big people online that like to say that are Shapiro,
Yes.
Stephen Crowder,
Yes.
and Patrick Moore.
I don't know the third person.
Patrick Moore was the head of Greenpeace and then got purchased by consultants.
Oh, so he's not the one that left Greenpeace.
Yeah, he left Greenpeace.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, he was in the 1970s. He was the leader of the Greenpeace, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, he's being paid by consulting firms to
Okay.
promote
All right.
that agenda.
Right. Okay.
Right, because that's what they do. Ben Shapiro and Stephen Crowder and all these guys are either getting paid directly or indirectly to spout right wing, and
Yes.
they don't care to do the research or present any facts that are disagreeing with them. So
I like to debate people that have no debating skills whatsoever, and as long as I just keep talking a lot and not let them get a word in edgewise, eventually they will say something, even small, that will slip them up, and I will catch them in my net, and then I will be able to tell them that they're wrong and that they're idiots and that the right wing is correct.
Yes.
Just saying.
yeah, keep in mind, I am right wing, and this is the reason why I think this is so important. Right wing people, Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, Brian Mulroney, were all the ones that brought it up first.
Yes.
And wanted to do something about it first.
In the 80s.
So why is this now all of a sudden, oh, wait, no, we're denying it? I'm like, but you hold those three as like your pinnacles, but you want to ignore the fact that they want, yeah, I don't know.
I feel like the Republican Party in the States is almost not necessarily outright stating it, but I feel like they're disavowing Reagan.
Which makes
they don't talk about him anymore.
I don't get it. I don't get it. He should be like your spokesperson. I don't really appreciate his trickle-down economic theory, but other than that,
I'm sure there's plenty of billionaires that do.
I'm sure there is. But I do like the humans are not the cause. Like, that's why in China they wear masks because of smog. It's because they like breathing through masks. That's why they wear them.
Yeah,
that's right. It's not because the coal-firing plants that put all the pollution in the air. No, that's not the reason why at all.
No,
nope.
The smog is just naturally coming through pores in the earth. It's creeping out of the mantle.
Yeah,
it's really coming from. Actually, no, it's coming from the core. Because the inner core of the earth is molten metal and things like that. Well, that must be where the smog's coming from, right?
Yeah, there's volcanoes in Beijing, and CO2 is not growing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, what I say is that what we'll do is we'll play a round of golf. You get $100 per hole. I will give it to you, and you give me a penny, and we'll double it every hole. We'll see who comes out in the end. Because that's how accumulation over time works.
Yes.
CO2 is actually good. Listen, if you think carbon's that good for you, just go into your garage, turn the car on, shut all the doors. We're golden.
To be fair, that's carbon monoxide. We've been told that that's bad for us, which it is. It will kill us. But, I mean, really, carbon dioxide will kill us as well. Really.
Dioxide, monoxide? Do you think these people care about that much in science?
Well, no, probably not.
And then humans will adjust because, that's the thing that's going to happen. So what Shapiro has famously said is that people will adjust and they'll sell their homes if they get flooded by the sea.
To who?
Crab people.
Yes, exactly. This is where the Morlocks come in. Maybe the Morlocks live under the water as well as under the earth.
Exactly.
I don't know. Or the mer people.
That's his solution. He's in the fifth level of denial. He's like, nope. Humans will adjust. They'll just sell it and it'll be fine. Like, it won't cost. It will be no cost to us at all. Or nowhere near the cost for the green initiative. Yeah, okay. So Steven Crowder, the other conservative pundit, we'll call him.
That's using the term very loosely.
Well, all right. It says absolutely nothing about Greenland. Nothing but the Greenland glacier until one report said that increased its ice in the one glacier over 6 months.
Yeah.
And then ran it as if it was.
But I think that one was ice cover though too, wasn't it? Not like.
They said that the glacier was growing.
Okay.
Faster than what was expected over the 6 month period.
Fair enough.
And they said, and they were like lambasted it. So what I propose is that Steven Crowder puts a little sign and everything up there on a glacier. You can pick one in Alaska, for instance.
Right.
And just do your little sit down and approach me from there.
Glaciers aren't shrinking. Prove me wrong.
Prove me wrong. And just do it for a year and see how it works for him then.
Yes. Well.
And my absolute favorite is Patrick Moore. He's the guy that used to be a part of Greenpeace. At one point in time, he was the president of Greenpeace.
Okay.
He has subsequently left Greenpeace, started his own consulting firm, and gets paid big money by a lot of different oil companies and things like that to promote that climate change isn't as bad as it is.
What, you mean he was full of crap when he was part of Greenpeace? Or he just got bought out?
Yeah,
maybe both.
I
maybe
don't know.
both.
But how my opinion on him is, if you really want to go watch this episode and make sure that he's always consistent in his message, like his message doesn't change no matter what, right? So he went on to this French, I think it's Canal Plus, and they were talking about Roundup and the particular main ingredient, glyphosate.
Yeah.
And he said in the interview, you could drink a whole quart of it without any harm.
So did he do it on the episode?
So the French reporter said, oh, we got some. Do you want to drink some? Immediately, he refused it and said, I'm not an idiot. I won't drink it. Then he said, no, it's safe to drink. It's safe to drink. It's fine for human consumption. Well, we have some. We can bring it out to you. He's like, no. And then he said, I'm not stupid, before he abruptly left the interview. It is just gold. The fact that he has to try to do this mental gymnastics of it's safe because he has to promote what is obviously crap. And then when they're like, well, just drink it. We got some. Oh, well, I'm not going to be.
Well, I'm not going to do that.
I'm not going to do that.
I don't even listen. I don't listen to myself.
I don't listen to my own self. It's perfectly
fine for other people to drink it. I want to live.
Okay, so getting back to first point is that people feel like the climate isn't changing. And I have a question for you, Adam, once again, because I love asking you questions.
Yes.
How is climate change affecting us Canadians right now?
Okay.
Not in the future. I mean right now. And maybe I might talk about it.
Okay, so we can go back to what we already mentioned in regards to the increased number of forest fires.
Yep.
Increased number of maybe catastrophic, not the right word, but like intense weather events. Like think about the fact that even just in the last 3 or 4 years, Toronto's had 200-year floods or something, or 100-year rainstorms that has caused flooding issues, especially because they have antiquated wastewater infrastructure. According to stats, Canada is warming on average at twice the rate of the rest of the world, and the Arctic in particular is warming at almost 3 times the rate of the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Along with that, I believe the Arctic Ocean is expected to be ice-free year-round within the next 10 years or something like that. That's what they're predicting, at least.
I didn't look. I really tried hard not to look at any predictions here because one of the big things that a lot of conservative media goes, well, this is all predictions, all projections.
Right.
I'm just like, I don't care about projections. I want to know how it's affecting right now.
Right.
And you missed the easy one, is sea level rise.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
fine.
So I'm going to talk about 4 different things. So I'm going to
just to jump in, the sea level rise, which, well, whatever, it's a lake, but easy thing to point to is the fact that look at like Toronto Island. Okay, again, with these rainstorms and early season water levels, Toronto Island is getting to the point where it's starting to lose land.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's parts of it that are now basically flooded year round.
It's all about Ontario for you, isn't it?
Well, because that's the news I read.
Anyway, so I focus on 4 things: the Arctic, flooding, which is the intense weather events you mentioned.
Yep.
Sea level rise, and wildfires.
And obviously, the flooding has been an issue in New Brunswick and Quebec and such as well.
So in the Arctic, what's happening is the permafrost is actually loosening up.
Yes.
So we've gone from permafrost to quicksand, apparently.
Yeah, mud and quicksand, basically.
Yeah, because, it's not called permafrost because it's supposed to be permanent, but I guess, whatever. And also ice is melting up and breaking up.
So even though the Northwest Passage runs between islands in the Arctic that are part of Canada, countries like the United States and I think China and maybe Russia as well are all like, oh no, the Northwest Passage, it's international waters.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into.
I know we're not going to get into that debate because it's not climate change related, really. It kind of
is,
but it
climate
isn't.
change related.
It is, but it isn't.
It is more of a foreign policy issue than it is what I'm focusing on.
Yes, fair enough.
Inuit people are having troubles to find ways for their hunting grounds.
Oh yeah,
to get to their hunting spots, to get to their fishing spots, to get to water, clean water, or even get to their house.
Yep.
Animals are changing their migration patterns. Animals are being affected by this because they have to go different ways. And basically, they're going to have to move. Where it relates to a Canadian directly is who's going to pay for them to move?
It's going to be taxpayer money because first there's money and holdings within the federal government that is technically money for Indigenous peoples, but there's not going to be an expectation that the funding to move these people is going to come from that money.
That's right.
It's going to come from taxpayers.
Now, if we look at flooding, there's a town called Maugerville located on the St. John River, just downstream from Fredericton. In 1973, it had the flood of the century. Then it broke it in 2018.
Okay.
So they've actually dubbed it Floodville.
All right.
Because it's like we're talking like 8 meters of water.
Yeah.
We're not talking, like a little bit. There's apparently a few guys that look after the place because they're pine boxers. They're never going to leave. The one day they rustled up the church and anchored it down.
Anchored it down so that it wouldn't get swept away, basically?
So the church wouldn't get swept away, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But don't worry, Shapiro's got that under locks. Maybe he'll buy the land.
Yeah, moving on.
So the feds are looking at bailouts for flood insurance. At whose cost? Us, like no local taxpayers. And then we're going to look at sea level rise. So there's an island of Prince Edward Island called Lennox Island. It's a very small island. It's already lost like 300 football feet worth of land through sea erosion and things like that. The township is in jeopardy because if a large storm surge comes in, it'll hit the sewage and make the town unlivable.
Right.
So let's pretend you have a cottage, home, water. Most people build on the waterfront.
Well, yeah.
Seaside.
Yep.
And then you come back after winter or whatever, and oh shoot, you've lost a few meters. Oh wait, you've lost your house.
Yes.
You've lost your cottage.
Yes.
And
You've lost all the value of that property. And the insurance company's not going to cover it.
No.
You guaranteed that.
No, because they know what's going to happen.
Yep. That's why a lot of insurance policies over the last few years have changed the riders on the water damage.
Yeah.
They see the writing on the wall.
Yeah, they're not stupid. They have actuaries. They have people that all they do is push numbers and count, and they have to figure it out. Insurance companies are there to make money. They're not there to make large payouts.
That's right.
The local graveyard's in threat, so they might get all swept out to sea.
You mean this is still with Lennox Island? Yeah.
Still Lennox Island.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Like this is right now.
Yeah.
Right now. They had to rebuild their barrier for that using their own money. And they know that it's only a matter of time before it gets washed away. Again. Because of climate change.
Right.
Who's going to pay for that?
Well, again,
who's going to?
I'm sure taxpayers are already paying for it because that's probably some sort of infrastructure project, right?
Yeah. And my all-time favorite from this episode. This is the greatest thing that's ever happened as far as climate change goes. Okay.
Hold on. Take that with a grain of salt. He doesn't literally mean that it's the greatest thing that's ever happened.
Oh yeah, it's super sad and like really depressing, but like hilarious on a level that I can't even imagine. So Jason Kenney. The right-wing premier of Alberta.
Okay.
Now, he lies about human involvement in climate change. That's where he's at.
Yes.
He's not saying it does not occurring. He's just saying that humans aren't the cause of it.
They have a $30 million war room to protect oil and gas interests and to, quote-unquote, flush out foreign interference in the oil and gas sector in Alberta.
Yeah, so
Just saying.
Our podcast is going to get taken down.
Yeah. Sorry, this is the last episode of Poutine Politics.
Pretty much. He just basically wants to deny restrictions on climate change action. So,
because they have to make money, Mike. They need to build pipelines so that they can get their resources out of the province.
Listen.
Otherwise, they're going to separate.
They're going to separate. I love that. So, on May 30th of 2019 is going to be the day. He's got it bookmarked. He tells all of his the press corps and everything like that. I'm going to repeal the carbon tax in our province. And I'm going to take my big truck and I'm going to go to the gas station and I'm going to fill it up. Goes out that morning. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of wildfire aura
yeah,
in
that's
the
right.
air. And guess what? Can't do it in the morning.
Right.
Okay, so we'll postpone it to the afternoon.
Yeah.
By the afternoon, it gets so dark that they have to cancel that.
The sun, basically the sun was blocked out. That's how dark it was.
Okay. But it gets better than that. Like, I wish that's where the story ended. No. And this is in Edmonton. It got so bad that during the government meeting to pass the bill, they had to postpone it.
Oh, to repeal the carbon tax.
To repeal the carbon tax because it was a safety hazard because people were coughing and choking in the legislature.
We're done here.
You can't write a better script than that.
Yeah. Anyway,
like that happened. So Kenny, who's going to pay for all those health concerns? It's the greatest thing that I've ever seen as far as climate change. Like, how the optics of that alone?
What is it with? That's how parties and how political parties that are opposed to climate change legislation or carbon tax or anything like that's how they protest it, is they record some sort of, now advertisement's not the right term, but they go to a gas station with their big SUVs that burn ridiculous amounts of fuel, and that's how they're going to carbon tax is ridiculous. It costs so much more money on a tank of gas. And it's like, drive a sedan. Drive a compact car. I don't care. You don't, like, a single MP doesn't need whatever it is, like a Cadillac Escalade or a Ford Excursion or whatever. Okay? It's not like they're bulletproof or anything. It's not like they have those vehicles for safety reasons, as far as I'm aware.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe I'm wrong.
But yeah, that has got to be my favorite story. Wildfires is a thing. It's caused by climate change. What are you doing? what are you doing?
More oil and gas.
A plus.
And again, we understand that, at least for the time being, the oil and gas sector has to exist because there has to be a transition away from it. It's not going to happen overnight.
No.
But at the same time, that doesn't mean that expanding the market is a good thing necessarily.
I say, look at the cost now. And even the most conservative efforts and the most non-threatening projections still is going to be huge problems that someone's going to have to pay for. So we either pay for it now or we pay for it later. And as a conservative person who likes fiscal responsibility, I want to pay for it now, not 10, 20 years from now. Because I'm going to have to pay for it 10, 20 years from now. Because we can't just let somebody in Lennox Island just float away.
We are the generation that can't say it's up to the next generation to take care of.
We can't let, some Inuit person be like, oh no, I'm falling in quicksand. I used to call it permafrost. Like you just can't. Like, we're going to have to move these people.
Yeah.
They're Canadians. Sorry.
Yep. All right.
So, yeah.
There you go. Climate change denial. Not by us.
No.
Not at all. If you've listened to our other episodes on climate change, you would realize that we understand.
I'd rather have a debate on how to fix the problem, not that if there's a problem. Because it's not an if. Stop telling me that's an if. It's not an if. It's a fact. If you want to ignore it, go dig in a hole. I'm done with you.
Yeah. What's that comic that came out with the Paris Climate Accord? And it's like, what if we do all these things and all it does is makes the world a cleaner place or something like that? And it's like, oh, that would be a shame, wouldn't it? We could go through all of these issues, and it's like, what if it turns out that climate change was all a hoax? Okay, then we created a new economy.
Well,
I don't know.
The worst thing that happened would cost us in GDP, and we would have a cleaner planet.
And it wouldn't even be that big of a hit to the GDP from the studies that I've read.
No, if we start it now, if we wait, it's going to be huge.
Yes, if we wait, it's going to be huge.
Right.
Although the cleanup is going to be huge already, apparently. Yeah. I can't remember. I know I read about it recently, like the estimated costs to clean up the abandoned wells just in Alberta is
Don't get me started on
pretty
wells.
Exorbitant number.
Don't get me started on wells.
No, that's fine. We're not going to get started on that. That's not part of what we're talking about right now. We can talk about that later. All right. So this has been our episode on climate change denialism is stupid.
That's a great title. That's way better than mine.
That's right. Thanks for listening. My name's Adam.
My name's Mike.
We'll talk to you soon.